put our mic on. Okay, we've got the mic on. Hi folks, I think we'll make a start now. I hope everyone can hear us okay. So I'll do a quick test and then I'll get Shirley to do a quick test as well. So,
hello everyone, Shirley Lawson speaking. Nice to have you all there to join us today.
Good, great, okay. So thanks to everyone joining us. We've got Linda from Washington State, that's fantastic. We've got some people as well from south of the border in England and up on the west coast as well. So that's great. Good to have so many people, of course, Duke from the borders and lots of others from all over the country. Brilliant. So today Shirley's going to be talking about how to support a dyslexic high school student, and is this based on a real life student, Shirley?
It's not based on a real life student, but it's based on a number of pupils that we've been working with. So it's not taking one in particular, but it's kind of looking at one where the scenario works really well and focusing on the aspects of that work well.
Okay, great. So I'm just looking at, thanks Joe, you're from Bristol, so that's great as well. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask, maybe just pop them in at in the text box at the bottom after Shirley's finished. And if you have any ideas or any sort of suggestions that you'd like to add as resources, please put them in as well. And I think we'll get started. But just to say as well, this is recorded obviously, but the names are all anonymised. So if you want to come and look at the archive, and many people do look at the archives, this will all be anonymised. And just to let you know, this little box here, there's some links here as well. So if you click onto the links, that will take you, give you some more information. For example, where all the coal posters are. So if you haven't seen them, there's lots there. So what I'll do now, I'll just switch over and share my desktop, and well, you can see, get started, and I'll hand over to Shirley. So okay, just a second, Shirley. Just share my screen, and hopefully you should all be able to see. Just move this down so it's not in the way. Okay, so it's out the way, great. And okay, Shirley. It's all yours.
Good, thank you very much. So as Craig said, this webinar we're going to be focusing on technology that can be used to support high school students who have literacy difficulties. We work with many primary 7 pupils who've been well supported and understood in primary school, but the transition to secondary school can be daunting, knowing that there will now be multiple teachers involved in different classroom settings, and all these teachers are going to have different levels of knowledge on how technology can support someone with literacy difficulties. And perhaps different technologies available in high school than was in primary school, and of course there'll be an increased workload across many subjects to manage as well. So that when you look at all that, there is lots to worry about. And many students are becoming more conscious about being a bit different and not always keen to use the things that will actually help them. So I'm going to look at the case of a student who I'll call David. So I'm just going to show you some information about him. He's now settling into S1 at high school. He's very keen and very good at drama and music. He has dyslexia and dyspraxia, and he struggles with all aspects of reading, writing, spelling, and organisation. I'm sure it sounds a very familiar scenario. His teacher in primary 7 used a universal design for learning approach in the classroom and provided many different technology options and strategies that any learner could access, and this made things really easy for David. So just showing you what it looked like for him in primary 7. So he had all these things in place for him in terms of supporting his reading difficulties. The teacher provided him with digital textbooks and reading books, and he was able to use text-to-speech in order to have the text read out to him. And with the Scottish Voices as well, it was a really good way for him when he struggled with decoding words to actually have the support using the digital text with the text-to-speech. He also liked to have a different colour of background, and so using SS Overlay on from my study bar, he was able to have a different colour. It was a kind of aqua colour background that he liked, so he's able to adjust the transparency of that using SS Overlay. For his writing difficulties, all the laptops had Clicker 7 software on, so that's a really accessible piece of literacy support software. And the features that really benefited him were the spell checking, word prediction, audio notes, and the word banks as well. So that gave him all the support that he needed. So rather than looking at a blank piece of paper and being really stuck, he was having all this, the facility, as well as text-to-speech, having everything being able to be read out to him. That really helped him. In terms of his spelling, when he was doing maybe an extended writing piece in Microsoft Word, he would be using the Word Talking spell checker, which was great because you've got the words come up, the red squiggly line underneath. If you're then right-clicking to choose the word, if you're then given a list of words, additional words which all look confusing, it's really important and beneficial to have a talking spell checker that you're actually checking first which word you're going to choose before you put it, you make the correction. And in terms of his organisation, the way it was done in the Primary 7, the teacher could save files to a shared server and David could access them from his laptop in the classroom. But these files, of course, were then only able to be accessed at home. So therefore, the teacher had decided to explore a bit with using a OneNote shared notebook, which once you log into your Office 365 account and you're on your OneNote, then you're able to access it from any device. So he could go home and use his home computer or iPad and log in and see the same notebook that he was working on in school. So all these things were in place for him in Primary 7 and it was really good. It worked very well, and thanks to his Primary 7 teacher who really took it on board and understood the importance of assistive technology in supporting him. So he was in the fortunate position that there was good communication between the primary school and the high school, which happened during a period of enhanced transition. And the Support for Learning department at the high school were aware of the technologies that supported David and wanted to replicate this for him in high school. But the solution had to be one that had to take account of him moving around the school to different classes, and it just really wasn't practical for him to be carrying a full-size laptop. So it just decided he was going to be using an iPad, which he was familiar with using one in Primary 7, and he did have one at home, so he was happy with that decision. We have an infographic on our website on how to use the iPad to support dyslexia. I'll just toggle to that just now to show you what that
Could I just ask,
like.
while you're doing that, which app was that you were using there? The mind mapping app?
The mind mapping app is called Popplets.
Popplets.
Yes.
Is that a free app?
There's a light version which is free, but I think the full version's of $4.99, $5.99.
Nice and clear for planning.
No, really good, and it's nice. It's sort of color coded there. So that was the Popplet app. So this is our poster, which is downloadable free from our website, from our information pages from the downloads. And this gives you lots of information. Some of the features here I'm going to cover today in terms of what support you can get when you're using an iPad if you have literacy difficulties. So what David was using in terms of on his iPad to support his reading difficulties, he does need that support, having the text-to-speech support. But it was great with the iPad because he can just use the inbuilt functionality of it to have the words read out to him. It's all about the setup of making sure this does happen. So all his teachers have been notified that text must be provided David in a digital format, and then he can open them in perhaps something like iBooks or an app like Claro PDF Pro is another one which is good for him to be able to open up and have them read out. But if he's just using the inbuilt functionality, I'll demonstrate, if, say perhaps he was in history and he's been looking at the Kelpies, so he's now doing some web research, and this is just all difficult for him to read. Now, so what are we going to do to allow to support his reading of this site? Well, what I can do is I can just simply put my finger down on a word and then I can extend it out there. Let's do that again. Being a bit temperamental. I'm just dragging out the...
Always does that when you're presenting, doesn't it? It happens to me.
There we go.
This normally works great, folks.
my sweaty fingers here. So, okay, so I've highlighted some text, and you can see at the top there I've got the option now. I'm just going to click on
Chosen by Scottish Canals.
Okay, so it's highlighting as it goes along, and it's reading the words out there. So with the highlighting, that's a really good feature of text-to-speech. It's called using dual modality. So you're actually, the person is seeing the words, highlighted one by one as they go along, but they're also hearing them at the same time. So that's a really useful feature. So in David's case, he is requiring a lot of text to be read out. Now, you don't want him to go to the bother of having to put his finger down and highlight the words as he goes along. So the other option, so that was speak selection that I chose, you can actually get the whole screen to be read out. And what I would do is swipe down 2 fingers from the top of the screen to have that read out. But before I do that, I'm going to show you on something else that will just help in terms of making that, again, an easier way to do that. And I'm going to look right at the very top in the address bar, the URL bar, where you've got thehelix.co.uk. And you'll see on the left-hand side, you've got some 4 lines. So if I was to tap on that, and that's called Safari Reader. So I'll show you what the page is looking like at the moment. It's fairly cluttered. There's quotes, there's sidebars, there's a box there. And if I'm using text-to-speech, you're going to have to work out which bit is actually being spoken out. But going to the top of the page, I'm just going to tap on the Safari Reader part, and you can see what happens now. It clears out all the sidebars, and now I've got a really nice page, a nice clear interface. So when I do my 2 fingers swiping from the top of the page to activate the speak screen, it comes up really nicely.
From Andy Scott's vision to a stunning reality, the history of the Kelpies, chosen by Scottish Canals at the inception of the project. The Kelpies name reflected the mythological transforming beasts possessing.
Okay, so you can see there I've got my little, I can put this anywhere on the screen I want. Hit on the tortoise to slow the speech down, and the hare to speed it up, and you can change the voices in the settings part there. So this is really, really useful to David for when he is having text read out to him. But so this is when he was doing web research, but he might be, for example, just writing in notes. So he's now off to home economics, and he's writing up about nutrition and the benefits of eating a vegetarian diet. So he's written some notes here, but he may also be working with an iPad with a website as well. So if he was working with a web page as well as writing the notes, one of the good features that you can use, and it makes things a lot easier rather than going between apps. I can just bring up the web page at the bottom here. You can see the Safari icon. So I'm just going to put my finger on that, and I'm going to slide it up, and I'm going to take it over to the right and dock it to the right there. So now, so I'm not wanting the website on the Kelpies there, but what I do want is I want to have my website here up on health and nutrition. So you can see what I've got here. I've now got my notes app working alongside the website where I'm looking for information there. So that's really, in terms of organization, that's a really nice way to do it. And because I've shown you the speak screen and having things read out, I can just toggle between either side of the screen and have the same thing.
Worried that you, or someone you love, won't get enough protein without meat.
Okay, so that's me swiping down from the left-hand side of the screen, but then I can just do the same from the right-hand side of the
Research shows
screen.
that in many ways a vegetarian diet is healthier than that of a typical meat eater.
Okay, we're laughing with Craig early. No subliminal messages as our 2 vegetarians are sitting here doing this webinar. But you get the idea. You've got your speak screen can come up at any point, whatever app you're working in, and it's really, really useful. And David always carries headphones with him. Again, another nice feature, just so that he can have. He's not going to have to be conscious about other people hearing, and maybe disturbing other peers in the class. He can just put his headphones in and work away quietly there. Sometimes, but not always, he prefers a different coloured background due to his scotopic sensitivity. I'll show you where that is. So that was we talked about when he was in primary 7 and he was using the SS overlay on his Windows laptop. It's inbuilt again on the iPad. So I'm under here, General, Accessibility, and it's the one that's called Display Accommodations. And you've got here your second choice down, colour filters, and you can see I can choose any of these colours, and that will change the screen for whether I'm on a web page, whether I'm in Notes or in another app. So all these options there, and it's just finding out about them in order to best support your pupils with additional support needs. When it comes to writing extended pieces of work, David has been using the Docs Plus app, which provides him with the predictive text and spell checking features he needs. He liked to use Clicker 7 in the primary school, but he thinks the Docs Plus app is more of an older student look and feel, and he really likes that. And I would have to agree, it definitely does have that. I'll put it on and you can have a look at it. You can see, I'll switch off our speech there. Yeah, it's just definitely just got that slightly older look and feel about it. And it doesn't have all the features of Clicker 7, but it has the ones that are really important to him. So in terms of the word prediction, it's just up at the top here. I'm just going to toggle it on. And you can see the predictions are coming just above the keyboard there. So as I type in, you can see that the words I'm going to say need, and I've already just typed in the N, and the words are appearing down at the bottom here. And I can just tap on them and saves me on the keystrokes in order to type in. So it's all going to be a lot quicker. It's going to be, the words are going to be correctly spelled, which is another big thing there. Now, again, I'm seeing all these big words there, but I'm not quite sure which one I want. So I'm going to go to the right-hand side of the predicted words and just tap on the little sound icon there. So when I do that, I can now listen to the words.
Predicted. Prediction.
Okay, so I'm actually listening to the word first of all before I'm saying, yep, that's the one I want, and then can continue on. I'm just tapping on the word when I see it. If I need to listen to it, I'll do that by clicking on the little sound icon. Do that again. Click on the sound icon.
Homemade. Homework.
Okay, that's the one I want. Put the full stop
I
in.
need word prediction to support my homework.
Okay, and the text-to-speech reading it back again, that can help self-identify errors and help David to make his own corrections. If we take off the prediction and just to see what happens just by if he does spell something wrong. You're still going to get there's actually not squiggly line, but red dots under here. Now what would happen here?
I can listen to complicated words first.
Okay, the text-to-speech doesn't pick up that it's incorrect, but you've got the red dots there. So I'm just going to put my finger on the word and then you can see that it's highlighted, and then the choices for the correction come underneath, and straight away it's picked it up down at the bottom there. So I would just tap on that to make the correction. And then at any point I can tap on the speaker icon up in the top toolbar and everything will be read.
Complicated words first.
Okay, and it will read everything out if I wanted the whole thing read back, if it was a longer piece of text. Just above the keyboard on the right hand side, the kind of green little table icon, this is a word bar which can provide word bank support. You can click on this one here. We're still on this on the topic of foods. You can see here we've got the different foods, different categories down at the bottom, and all these words in the same way, they can be sitting there if he's writing a longer piece and needing support with having the words there that he can listen to first and then use them, of course, and have them all correctly spelt, which is such a big thing. Part of the reason that everything's working so well for David is that all his teachers are on board and they know what technology he's using and how they can support him. And it was his home economics teacher who accessed a ready-made word bank on Learning Grids, which is I've got the link for that on the front page of the web conference page, because it's a really good site if you are using the CRIC products. So the teacher was able to download the word bank that you see here onto their own iPad and was able to share it with David via AirDrop. So if we were to show you how to do that, I'm just going to go to the very top there and click on word bar. This is the word bar here, it's kind of behind the scenes. And then I'm going to go to File and Send a Copy. And at that point, there's various ways of sending it, but if you're beside the other person who you're sharing it with, it's just a matter of clicking on AirDrop, tap it, and that word bank would then open up in their Docs Plus app. So really easy to do that, and a great way of just, you save you creating the word bank yourself. You've got lots of ready-made grids on Learning Grids, so worth a look there. Okay, so let's just go back to the document part. I'm just going to create another document here so we've got a clean slate. I'm going to get rid of the word bank as well there. So just in terms of spelling, if we were going to write in, so we're going to give a go here, hydrogen is a gas. Okay.
Hydrogen is a gas.
Okay, not quite right. Same thing, I'm going to put my finger on it. I'm going to see if I can get a... Yep, listen to the ones down at the bottom because the words are slightly bigger.
Hydrogen.
Okay, that's the one I want. Tap on that. So he actually went through the process there of actually typing it out and then doing the spell check. But if you're going to have prediction on, you can see how easy you wouldn't even really need to do that part, because I'm just going to put on word prediction, type in the same sentence, and very quickly with just writing in the first two letters, I've got hydrogen there, so I'd be tapping on that and typing it in there. So that's
hydrogen is a gas.
So really, from starting with Docs Plus to use it for spell checking support, David's really using it, the prediction element of it in the main to do most of his writing. And you can see down, you have a further option here to support the writing, is down to the left of the space bar at the bottom, you've got the microphone icon. So that is allowing you to use your voice to speak. So it's picking up the inbuilt Siri voice recognition on the iPad. So I'm going to give that a go, tap on that and dictate the sentence. Hydrogen is a gas. Okay, so that could be another way of doing it. So therefore I don't need to worry about my spelling. I don't need to look for word prediction. I'm going to be just speaking and the words appear. So definitely requiring an internet connection for that bit to happen. So lots of different options in there, and it's great when David's got his own iPad and learning the functions himself, so that to increase, and this is the long-term goal, is to make David as independent as possible. When looking ahead to doing assessments and exams, it is envisaged that he'll not require a reader or a scribe. He'll use digital exam papers with a text-to-speech application to have the questions read out, and likely to use speech recognition to complete his answers. Although he's been using Siri on the iPad for short written notes, and instead of perhaps typing into web search boxes, he has been using Dragon Naturally Speaking on a laptop in English, and has been learning from a support assistant how to do that, because it's an easy thing to do, but it's not a natural thing to do. You do have to be taught the technique of how to use it. And this is the software he'll use in exam situations, because it doesn't require an internet connection, which is a requirement to ensure the security of exam papers. The other really useful benefit of using Dragon was flagged up by his modern studies teacher when out on a field trip. And the teacher provided David with a dictaphone for him and said, look, just take some audio notes when you're out and about here, rather than having to write them down, which he knew was difficult for David. And this was going to form the basis of a report. So David just recorded what he saw, how the trip went. And when he went home, he was able to plug the dictaphone into the laptop that had the Dragon software, and this audio, this little MP3 file, was transcribed into text, which he was then able to use to write his report. So really lots of different options there when using the Dragon software. On our website, we have all the information that you could possibly want to know about speech recognition, and that comes under our information pages. And toggle down there just to the bottom there. So speech recognition, giving you all the different choices of software and apps, some free, some paid for. I'll give you all the information there. So the last thing I'm going to cover is organisation. What does David do to help to keep his work organised? We said in primary 7 his teacher had started using OneNote, so he was getting familiar with it, and now finds out in high school that the teachers are using that in a big way. So he's got his OneNote notebook here. So anyone not familiar with OneNote, it's like a digital jotter. You've got your different sections of the notebook with the tabs at the top. See, in this one example there is sort of for subjects headings, and within each section you've got your different pages, which you could name in any way that you wanted to do, whether it was by date or by topic with like subtopics underneath. And the good thing about the David's notebook, he's shared it with his teachers, so they can then access it, and they can add in formative comments to support his learning, or attach documents or resources. And as OneNote is cloud-based, he's then able to access the notebooks on any device once he's logged into his Office 365 account. So everything's in one place, and this is so good in terms of organisation. It saves him getting stressed because he's got bits of work on paper, scribbled on the back of a jotter, stuff on pen drives, and it's just all contained within the one digital notebook. And he knows when he's in class to open up that section of his OneNote notebook and work in there. There's also really good features within the OneNote notebook, and that to have the text to speech, and it's using something slightly different called Immersive Reader. So if I just go here, under the events, we've got some text here. If you go to the top of the page and click on View here, and then you can see at the far right hand side you've got something called Immersive Reader. So I'm just going to click on that, and you'll see what happens there. It's cleared out the page. We've now got a nice simple interface again. I'm going to click on the green arrow at the bottom and it will read it out to me.
The people took a ferry to the island of Arran and everyone had a party.
Okay, nice clear highlighting the words as they go along there. I've got options in here to change background colours. Perhaps you might want that. Visual impairment, excellent. You can change the text size there. Other good features, if I click on the book, perhaps somebody requires line focus, so they're really having to concentrate on what they're saying. So you can see now, clicking on play.
The people took a ferry to the island of Arran and everyone had a party.
Okay. David finds he doesn't need one line at a time, but if he's reading a longer piece of text, you can change the line focus so it could be moving down kind of block at a time, and that's really useful. And again, this picture dictionary, which is a new feature, is really useful, not particularly for some of the words that are the simpler words there, but sometimes when it's a homophone or a conflict, it's really useful to be able to just, for example, if I just tap on the word, and I can listen to it as well.
Party.
So you can see, because I've got that switched on, I can just switch on the word and I'm getting a picture for the nouns coming up there. So that's just all within OneNote Online. It's also available within Word Online as well. So requiring an internet connection to pick up these, the board maker symbols there. One other thing that David had found just by chatting to a friend, and it was something he'd been using on his phone, but you can still access it when you're using the iPad, and that's just, you got options for different keyboards, and the one that he likes is this one called the GBoard. I'm just going to bring that up on the screen here. Okay, it's not happening.
To tap into OneNote.
Yep, useful tip from Craig there to get my cursor in the right place, and then the keyboard is going to come up. So you can see the keyboard here, the GBoard. You've got the G at the top left-hand side of the key, just for Google. But what you're actually doing here is, rather than having to move out of another app to perhaps look something up, for example, as we had the split screen with notes, everything can happen within the one app. So that can be useful if you have organisation difficulties. So tapping on the G. And let's look up something about Arran. Let's say perhaps we're just going to add a map in there. And I'm going to type in Arran, and we're going to look for, it could be something you might be looking for later on as part of a research. Click on share, and you can see that link has slotted right into the OneNote notebook there. So going back home, I'm looking up my information on Arran, and I can just tap on that link there. And open it up and be taken straight to the map. So just another really useful feature there, just from simply from the keyboard as well. And the last thing I'll show you there, and just in terms of the notebook, is a new thing called glide typing, which is quite an interesting feature because you're actually just gliding your fingers along the keypad in order to be able to type. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll bring the keyboard up again. So I'm going to type in the sentence, "I really like to type this." So what I'm just going to do first of all is eyes, obviously, not needing to glide anywhere, but I'm using the keypad on the screen, and I'm just going to be gliding my fingers to so almost like approximately where the words are, and I'm just doing it in quite a quick way. It's going to be a capital letter. Okay, so you can see how that worked really well, and you could get used to it, and he actually really liked that. So therefore you're taking away the difficulties perhaps in spelling, and it's almost like an approximation. It's picking up what it thinks you're going to say. There were some predictive words that came up there as well, so just a different option, and that's what technology is all about. There's always new things evolving, and it's very unlikely that what David's using now in S1 he'll be using in S6. But with everyone on board and everyone acknowledging the level of support he needs, then he's got a much better chance of fully accessing the curriculum successfully and not experiencing the low confidence and self-esteem that can so often happen for a dyslexic student struggling in high school. So just to finish off, I'm just going to put up the final mind map just to give you the scenario for David now in high school. These are all the things that we've covered there, just in terms of reading, the digital texts, speak screen, inbuilt functions on the iPad, and Safari Reader was that cleared out the page to give the nice clear interface. And if you require the background color, you can use the display accommodations. In terms of writing, he was using the Docs Plus app, with mainly for predictive text, but you have the spell checking options and the dictation as well. And writing, he was using it on the laptop within his English department, and also having taking the dictaphone in the field trip and being able to make an audio file and have that transcribed. In terms of spelling support, it was really the prediction in Docs Plus that worked best. But obviously when you're using speech recognition in any format, everything's spelt correctly, so that can be really good. And finished off with organisations. So OneNote notebook shared with his teachers, accessible on all devices, keeps all his work together. That's a really helpful thing for him. And then just that last thing, just using the GBoard keyboard, which can be used in any application, but he was using it within OneNote. So that's
okay,
my
some great tips, Shirley.
whirlwind tour.
We'll just let's move this away and we'll go back to the front page. So it all sounds very sort of idyllic, everything working well, staff supporting. I suppose that is the key though, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing having the technology, but the other component is getting everyone on board and working together.
I mean, it really is, and you know, that's when we talk about this assistive technology. You know, we go to do assessment. You know, the technology itself. We can provide it, or somebody is there, but everybody needs to be on board. Everyone needs to be knowing how to support it, and yeah, this was pretty much the ideal scenario.
Yeah. Okay. Linda's asking, is Docs Plus from Cricksoft?
Yes. So Docs Plus is, you can also get it as a piece of software, but that was an app that was using.
The link's here, Linda, just on there. Okay, you can, and there's a Chromebook version.
There's a Chrome app as well. Yep.
Yeah, and a Word version.
Yep.
Yeah. Domenica has to go, but she can look back to see if there's any other questions that
Sure.
Or if you want to post your question just now, Linda, pop it in. And we'll try and get back to you. Sorry, Domenica, we'll try and get back to you. Is it possible to get a PowerPoint of this presentation? Well, actually, Isa, what we'll do is this has been recorded, so it's saved as an archive. And if you come tomorrow sometime and go to I'll actually just pop it in just now, okay? I'll pop in the web link for you. And if you scroll down where the link is, the archive's on the right hand side, okay? And all the features are interactive, so you can sort of click on the links and things like this, okay? So I'll do that just now, or maybe if Robert's about, he's listening, he might be able to pop it in for me. Okay. And sorry, if there's any other questions, please please pop them into the box as well. Right, I'll just minimize that so I can see what's going on. Go to the core site. There we go. And training. And webinars. Okay, I'll just pop this link in for you. You probably can't see what I'm doing there, but I was just looking at the site, so I'll put this in there.
That's great. Thank you for that, Craig.
Okay. So Joe's saying, thanks very much, Shirley. That was great. Yes, it was brilliant, Shirley. Thanks. Fantastic presentation. Really useful for my child who's currently P7. So, Alison, I'm assuming that's going to be making that transition next year then. Sharon saying, great as usual, Shirley. Thanks, Linda. Glad it was worth you joining all the way from the States. And Melissa, yeah, I hope that went well. Everybody in Tarbert had a good opportunity to see everything that was going on and hear everything that was going on, so thanks. Okay. Joe's actually supporting in P7, so that's really good.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah.
So hopefully that has been helpful for both people with the primary school and high school settings.
I've got a question. It's about Office Lens.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard about that?
Yes.
So
Office Lens is a very good app, and actually is relevant to the OneNote notebooks that we're showing you, because the scenario is, so somebody with literacy difficulty is, you're packing up from one class going to the other, and all of a sudden there's a piece of work that appears on the board that you're supposed to either copy down or remember for your homework or a task. What you can do is then just take out your iPad or your phone, and using the Office Lens app, take a picture of the board, and now that picture can then be directly added into your OneNote notebook, and not only just the picture, because obviously if you have difficulty reading, you've got a picture of text that you can't use your speak screen at that point because it's an actual image. But you can actually do an optical character recognition. It can actually extract the words out and then be able to use a text-to-speech function.
That's great. Oh. Okay, well, I've put the link in there for people to find out more information. Catherine's asking, can technology be used on laptops, as some authorities don't support iPads? So I guess the answer to that is yes and no, really, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I would say, literally what I've been showing, there would be sort of, a version of something equivalent or similar for a laptop. I think the idea of me sort of showing the iPad was that idea how portable it is, and so that was the idea about, could there be something that could just be portable around the classes. But yes, I mean, you can obviously be using OneNote on a laptop, you can be using Docs Plus or full version, you could be using Dragon for speech recognition, or perhaps Google Voice typing, or something else.
And interestingly, the feature you're showing there about the Immersive Reader, that's available now on a lot of the online, Microsoft Office Online, those sorts of things across, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, so even just in that, just looking back at these things there, I would say yes, everything I've covered today would be available in some way or on a laptop.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Shirley. That was brilliant. Thanks. So just to let you know that the archive will be available hopefully tomorrow. And thanks again for everyone for joining today. And thanks for Shirley for such a great webinar, very informative and useful. Okay, thanks everyone, and we'll see you hopefully if you join us at the next webinar, which is when?
It will be next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, okay. I can't remember what it's on, but it's next Wednesday. Okay, thanks.
Great.
Folks.
Thanks very much, everyone. Bye for now.